Yes, good morning. How is everybody today? All right, so without further ado, we are going to talk about this amazing experience called contract to close. Now, I want to ask a quick question. I have to turn my volume up. Bear with me here 1 second. Does anyone have a good contract to close process that they're using currently? Julie, I see you nodding your head. Do you want to mute yourself? Bottom left-hand side. There you go.
Yeah, so I work with the Summerlin Group here in Houston, and we have a great contract to close process, and I guess something to share with our buyers as well.
So what do you think makes your process great?
I think it's easy to understand as a new buyer or as a seasoned buyer. I'm pretty much I like step-by-step type um, procedures, and so I think it's clear and easy to follow.
Yep. All right. So you want to give me some specifics?
Well, you put me on the spot. So it is something that we share with all of our clients. Like I said before, it even goes into when to, get your electricity and utilities turned on. It does more than just what the real estate part of the process is.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
So I'm going to share a sentiment with you that I believe many of you are not going to like, right? And this is a carefrontation. And this is another one of my crystal ball predictions, which since COVID started, been 99% correct. There's going to be an intersection, and this intersection is going to come sooner than you think. There's going to be some person out there that does a research study on high-end hospitality services, compensation, and what people receive for what they pay for, right? If you sell a $500,000 house, you can earn $15,000. That could be 25% or 20% of someone's annual salary, right? That means that's a third of the year or 25% of the year, a full quarter that you have somebody working 40 hours a week for you, right? Like think about that, right? That's 40 hours a week, 160 hours a month, 480 hours of labor. Not saying you do a lot. I did the same job. It is a lot, right? So as me as a business coach, like the things I think about is how do you protect your commission, right? I don't believe in the word defend, but more of it is how do we create a more enhanced experience? Everything that happens from the day they meet you to the day they move and the few weeks beyond, like assume absolute ownership of all of it. Because here's the thing, when this study comes out, and it will come out, I promise you, right? Real estate commissions has been a topic that's been in legislation and in the news recently, and things that people love to talk about, right? And look, I was talking to my partner last night as I was making this presentation and going through it with her. And she was like, I don't understand. What do you pay somebody $50,000 for? Like they find you, like this common buyer perception, right? Like they don't get it. Like I can find the properties on my own. I could go to the listing agent. I'm going to pay full price. I'm going to pay above full price. I still need to move myself. What do I use an agent for? Okay, like there's certain things like what do you envision an agent doing that you feel you can't do yourself? Like you can create that gap, but is it a 30,000, 50,000, $100,000 gap? You do not want people to start like reasoning your commissions in that way. And then I take all of the people that are not at Compass, and especially the ones that are not here. 73% of people don't sell a home. So if they sell a home, do you think they're providing a service that's worth the money that people are paying? No, right? So if you look at Amazon, they took what's called the long tail approach, right? The long tail approach said Barnes and Nobles is all the best stuff, but what about everything else, right? If you look at the long tail approach, like there's everybody else, million plus agents that are doing stuff that probably they shouldn't be doing. So what do people look at? Do they look at the top 10%? No, they look at you all as anomalies when we want that to be the standard. Does that make sense, everybody? To me, this process that we're going to share with you on the back end is as critical as the med C in the front end, right? So if you think about it, what do we want to do? From accepted offers and contract to close, right? Building lifelong relationships and referrals. Who doesn't want that, right? If you do this the right way, that is the byproduct of what you do. So we're going to talk about why contract to close is the most important part in the transaction is one of the most important parts, creating a luxury experience that drives referrals. Now, for everybody here, I have to start reiterating myself. When I use the word luxury, it has nothing to do with price point. Luxury, the new luxury is feeling, right? I don't care if you're buying a $100,000 house or $100 million house. There is no world that anything in between that is not a lot of money, right? It's $100,000. Like, look at a person's decision-making matrix when they go sign up or they go to a hotel room and spend $1,000 a night, right? They're like, oh, that's luxury, right? It's $1,000, right? This is $100,000 plus dollars. So everything is luxury, and luxury is a feeling that you can create in every single person. It's a choice, right? We're going to talk about how do we create experiences that drive referrals. I'm going to start talking you through how to create your own plan. It's impossible based on the amount of people that buy apartments, homes, second homes, markets. There's a variability in this that I can't assume because there's so many different markets and places. What I can do is give you this that you can turn into this and then teach you how to think through it. We're going to talk a little bit about the moving playbook that we created for you. So yes, we have created a moving playbook that explains to you how to do this. And then we've created another version that you can edit and give to your clients, right? So we've done all the heavy lifting for you in that sense. Now, the other part that I don't have in here is I'm going to share with you my $1 million script on how to extend a relationship so that when you email your clients, call your clients, text your clients, and want to stay in touch with them after, they're expecting your call. Would that be helpful to everybody? All right, cool. The last impression is what they remember. Has anyone ever thought about their business in that concept? Anybody? Hit yes in the chat if you have.
100%.
All right, now explain to me what that line means to you, Tatiana.
The very last impression, yes. For example, if you screwed up something at closing, that's what they remember, even after the whole deal went as smoothly as possible. I think that's what it's about.
Yep. And by the way, this is why I think no one should ever recommend movers. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm telling you, I learned my lesson in the hardest way by doing this. I had a client that like I was single at the time. So like, and she was super cool. Like she stayed in the open house. She was trying to like introduce me to people. Like her house was an expired listing. I sold it for more money than it expired for. I double-ended the deal. Like her and I were like buddies, right? And then after she moved, I never heard from her again. She had a horrible experience with the mover. Stuff broke. They locked her stuff in the car. It was terrible, right? But she never said anything to me. So for years, I was trying to figure out like, why is this lady like avoiding me? Like, it's just like one part. So one day I put a thing up on Facebook that I needed somebody to make forms. She was a teacher and also did graphic design, and her name was Sandy, and she wrote back, right? So, you know, there were options on Fiverr and stuff like that. So I hired her, and I went through the process of having her do the forms and everything else. And I go, look, let me ask you a question. This was before I paid her. So she had to answer the question. I was like, why'd you stop talking to me? And I sold her daughter a house, her cousin, like her whole family, just all stopped. And she goes to me, you're in bed with the moving company or something. It was such an effed up experience. She's like, the only reason you hired me to do this job for you was so you could figure out why I stopped talking to you. I'm like 100%. Right. And then I also started thinking like moving companies don't pay people a lot of money. There is a high turnover in employees. And by like Murphy's law of what can go wrong will go wrong. At some point, something's going to break by the law of probability. Right. So when you recommend movers, be very, very careful. Right. So here's the other part. Agent perception, I got them the house. Like, it's not my job, like as Julia said, to do all these things. It is your job, right? Because here's the thing. The last impression is what they remember. If they're all stressed out, they take it out on their family. They take it out on you. It's your schedule's interrupted. They want to do all these things at the last minute, right? But if you look at opportunity, we want to maximize and enhance experiences in areas that no one's talking about, no one's thinking about. This needs to be part of your buyer consultation. This needs to be one of the reasons that they pay you the full commission that you deserve, because everything you do is so buttoned up. This is why I encourage people to go through these tracks 1, 2, 3 times. So everything's buttoned up. Their commissions are protected. They just keep getting referrals and they master one side of the business and then go to the next side, right? It can take you a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, right? Martha, you've been here for 4 years, right? And so, these are all really important things to think about. So how do you stand out, right? A luxury moving experience. It's pretty simple, right? Set up a meeting after the contract signed. I would say, Martha, now that the contract signed, I would love to set up a meeting as we discussed so that we can collaborate on all the details of your move to ensure everything is accounted for. We'll build it into a calendar and then we'll check in weekly and support you in the way that you want to be supported. Would that be okay? So Susan will capture the script, she'll share it with you, but that's what you do. Then you meet them and you align on a game plan, right? Send them the playbook in advance, you print a copy, they print a copy, highlight all the things you want us to support you in. And the third one is the second part is you build out a calendar, right? Like, let's all be organized. You can build out a calendar with milestone dates, deadlines, things in the description. Shrug, this takes a lot of time. Yes, it does, but you're also getting paid a lot of money, right? This is something you can outsource to people. I'm not 100% sure, but you might be able to duplicate the calendar and then just edit it and share it with somebody different, right? But it's much easier to do this work one time for somebody and then have a conversation. Because remember, we live in a world where groups of people that are family, friends, all use different real estate agents, correct? So when one person's frustrated with their move, Julie's gonna be like, yeah, my agent's the best. You should see this calendar I have. And by the way, everything integrates into Compass One, all of it, right? Once the contract is signed, you can put all their vendors in there. You can put their timeline in there, right? So when you build this stuff out and we build our system in here, from there, you can add and enhance it in the way that you see fit, that everything is done, you do it once. Look, I just met with a gentleman today, and we're launching our space as like a content studio, event planning. You could do your event here, full AV services. Our team's walking behind you guys right now. And, I explained to him, I said, the organizational alignment of the way things done are most important. But the other part is, in any business, my fundamental belief is let's front load all the work, right? Let's do all the work in the beginning so the second part's easy. So if you take the time and build these checklists and stuff like that, it's great, right? If all of you next quarter, or 50, 60 of you want to come here for a day and plan all the checklists out together, great, we can figure it out, right? But this is what the future is. Do we all understand how important this is? This is not complicated. It's being organized, right? And true discipline is being detached from who you think you are and being attached to what you need to do. You need to do this for your clients. So when somebody's sitting there, and don't think these conversations don't happen, I have to pay I agreed to a $50,000 commission for my agent. I don't know what the hell he's doing. And like, Julia's client and Martha's client and Stuart's client and all of your clients, like, oh my God, seriously? I can see what my client's doing anytime, anywhere, on any device. Look, everything's organized here. All my moving documents, checklist, inspection report, all of the vendors, all of the things. You ever think about it that way? And then where they go back over and over and over again is to your Compass One portal, because that's where all the stuff is. Oh, you have something you want to add into there, Martha? Great. Just send it to me and I'll upload it. It keeps you in the transaction. It keeps you in the loop. Do you know how much information you get from somebody about moving, utilities, vendors, places, people, things, that all this stuff you can add? And by the way, the cool part about Compass One is it organizes in one place that they could look at it at any device. And if people are not organized, all this stuff is in random Google Docs, their email, text messages, their desktop, the download section of their computer, right? So creating your own plan. Be clear on setting the expectation from the beginning that this is a service you offer. I can't emphasize that enough. Set up a meeting and share the moving checklist. Align on the areas they want us to be supported in. Do not say, this is what I'm doing. This is how. No, it's not dictatorship. It's collaboration. The more it's their own idea, the better idea that it is. And then you can build out a Google Calendar, right? If you don't know how to do it, we'll show you where to get started. And then just have a weekly call. Do you think this is hard to do? Time and organization, and like everything else you do, the easier it gets. So when somebody's comparing a discounter to another person's, generally it's 1%. Does somebody really want to give up this convenience and real like luxury of having somebody do this? No, they do not. All right, now here's the cool part. So if you're new here, you've never ever heard anything of this in your life. And this is the weird stuff I think about at night in the shower and as I have conversations during the day, constantly looking at like behavioral psychology and how things just don't make sense, right? So during the transaction is the best place to extend the client relationship, right? Really turn your service into a friendship and a relationship that drives referrals. Now, here's the question, right? Number one, 0 to 1, you should be documenting every important detail that they give you outside of a house, like their kids, their birthdays, anniversaries, if you see them online, right? I just saw someone's wedding anniversary yesterday and I went in my CRM and I put a note in there, it's their anniversary, and then put a task that next year to send them a happy anniversary card. Like these are just little things that you can do, right? Like my son loves basketball, and somebody when I was at the football event at the pro athlete community remembered saying that, and they want to connect with me. And they said, hey, I have this product. I know your son loves basketball. What's your address? I want to send this to you. And naturally, I'm like, what can you help me with? And that's what he really called me for. He told me we had a whole conversation about it. And if you just reached out on that note, I may or may not have helped him, depending on my schedule and other stuff. But he was invested into what was important to me, so I was invested into him. But now here's the real question. As human beings, when relationships go from defined to undefined, there is ambiguity, correct? So let me ask you a question. Who wants to be my guinea pig here? All right, Kelly. How are you, Kelly?
Okay, hello. Hold on, let me get the.
Dr. Kelly.
Okay, sorry, I have background noise, but go ahead.
Oh, there are two Kellys. All right, you can both, Kelly Bramlett and Kelly Valera. You guys can both.
Kelly Bramlett has background noise. I'll let the other Kelly go.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. So let me ask you a question. If I was your buyer and I was buying a house from you, do you only talk to me about the house, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, or or we talk about everything?
No, we talk about everything.
Are they boundaryless conversations?
In some cases,
Do they happen just in an isolated incident a week or many, many times?
many times, I would say.
And at any point, are you short of what to say, what to discuss, or does it feel natural?
Just natural.
Okay, so here's what happens. It took me years to figure this out, right? Then the closing happens. I don't know if it's something in the air, it's something in the world, something that someone puts in a drink, right? Like, but then all of a sudden somebody tells you, hey, reach out to Chirag. And what is your inkling most of the time? Or most people?
Well, I honestly, like a lot of my clients do become friends, so I don't know if I'm the perfect guinea pig for this, but there have been some where maybe their age group is, you know, a little different than mine or something like that. And so it is kind of like more of a less
Awkward?
natural, you know what I mean, to feel like, oh, we're going to be friends now. So yeah, in that case, it is kind of like me. What do you
So
say?
here's the part to pay attention to for everybody, right? While we were working together, it was natural and it was easy, right? Literally a day and a thing happened. Why are the conversations now unnatural and uneasy? So that was the question I asked myself. And I really started thinking of it, right? And then it comes to this concept called neuroassociation. It's how your brain associates one thing with the other. I always share the same example. I had a friend years ago, like there was a group of like 15 of us that all went to the gym between like 4 and 4:30 in the morning, right? So there are not that many people there, right? So you like know everybody. It's like a close little group. And there was a guy, John Gutrich, right? And like, you know, he'd call us all kids because he was like in his 60s, really successful. And he'd give us all life advice and everything else. And, you know, we'd all work out. A group of us would like run, sometimes go to yoga class, like sit in a sauna, like stuff like that, and then eat breakfast together. And every day he was in a suit, right? And so he knew I was in real estate. He knew I had a real estate company. He goes to me one day, and this is where like the light bulb went off. He goes, "Hey kid, are you ever going to send me some business? Are we going to have a business conversation? Or do you just think I come here every day to be everybody's dad and give you guys good life advice?" And I was like, oh, I was like, I get, but in my mind, my neuro association with John, he was a really nice older guy at the gym that just gave everyone good advice and had like a heart of gold, right?
Mhm.
So what happens is when the closing happens, the relationship goes from defined to undefined, right?
Yeah.
So now, how does this connect to this whole luxury moving experience? If you're doing every single one of these things, right? You know what the peak point in a buyer's transaction is when those three words happen: clear to close, right? That's the day that they're the most happy, besides like the actual moving date, which is stress, right? All their visions, all their goals, it's happening. We could set up a closing date, right? At the peak point in the transaction, you want to do two different things. Number one, that's the best time to get a review from somebody. Don't wait till the end, right? You want to ask for reviews when the people still need you. Number two, this is your opportunity to extend the relationship. So keep yourself on mute, Kelly. Now I'm going to frame the conversation, right? And my framing in the conversation is gratitude and acknowledgement, right? I'm going to say, hey, Kelly, I just want to take a moment to just thank you for trusting me and partnering with me for this huge decision you made in your life, and trusting me to share blank, 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 and blank, which you didn't have to do, right? Acknowledge that, right? So if you're hearing that, it's like, hey, Kelly, just wanted to share how grateful I am for the opportunity of partnering with you and that your dream is about to happen. And additionally, I just want to say that you didn't have to share about your kids, your family, and all these other things. I just want to let you know how much I appreciate it, because it's not something you had to do. And I'm going to be quiet. And then what are you going to say to me?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for listening. That helped the experience.
So it's going to say help for listening. Thanks for the experience. And generally speaking, like when our clients talk to us, they're two-way conversations, right? Like, oh, I have kids, like you have kids, right? And then they're going to say, well, Shrug, like you shared about your kid and your daughter's gymnastics and your son's basketball. That was really nice. And then I'm going to level shift the conversation, right? Like, so I've acknowledged their trust in me, grateful, and then I actually value what they said and I listened, right? So subconsciously, they're like, Kelly's a good person. She really listened to me. How nice that someone's saying this and acknowledging that I shared all this personal stuff they didn't have to do, right? Then I'm going to say this, and this is the slickest line you'll ever hear in extending relationships. Hey, Kelly, would it be okay if we just continue to stay in touch? We like to reach out about once a month, and like, you know, we don't want you randomly looking for things on Google where we know we have resources, things that are going on in the community. We have different events. And we just want to make sure that things are going well and that we can continue being of value. Is that something that would be okay for you?
For sure. Yeah, sounds great.
So you say, would it be okay? I always like to say, hey, like we're experts in this area. So what we never want is someone that we have a relationship with randomly looking on Google for strangers and reading reviews when we're happy to help, and then figure out what your value proposition for after is. 90% of people say it's fine. Now, the fear factor in all of us is, what happens if they reject me and they don't want to talk to us? That's the best thing you could hear, because like they value your service, they value your professionalism. The other people like, dude, I'm good, I don't want that, but you did such a good job, Kelly. If I know anybody or I need another real estate, reach out to you. Great. And then I always tell the people, that's great, but you're still going to hear from us once a year to invite you to the annual event and check in for the holidays, right? And they're gonna say, okay, fine, right? Or they'll say, no, I don't want to hear anything, right? Okay, great, right? Like send them some stuff in the mail, just leave it be, right? But here's the thing, those people that raise their hand and say, I don't want that, now you don't piss them off.
Right.
You realize like the people that don't want the communication, like somebody, I have some family members that would not want any communication, like none. And then I have other ones that love it, right? They're like, oh my God, my agent's the best, right? So you identify that. And now when you're doing the calls that we suggested and everything else, right? The people are really happy because they're expecting it. And in their mind, talking to somebody once a month that they've been talking to almost every day is a friendship and a relationship, and their brain reasons this as normal. Has anyone ever thought about it this way?
No.
Do you think this will be very helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's how you get referrals, right? So look, we built a moving playbook, right? Laura's making it look presentable, right? It was my work, which is not what she signs off on, right? So we'll get this up by the end of the day. There's 2 versions of it. There is a version for you, right? And yes, we're pulling all the scripts out of here. So Susan will pull both of the scripts that we talked about today and add them on here. And then we have another version that we're going to give you that you can literally give your clients after you edit it. So they'll all be editable Google Docs, right? And you can make a copy of it and make it your own. Now, here's what I want you to do. Once you have it, build out your own checklist. From there, every one of you should find a CSC client. Each one of you should do this for each other. Practice the calendar, practice your own emails, practice how you're going to do it. Do it one time with somebody else before you do it with the client. Now, Cherish has a role play session, and here's an idea, and hit yes if you'd like this. So we're kicking around the idea. Martha's group has always been like an uber community for networking and building relationships. We're thinking of the idea of having her accountability session before this session next time. Hit yes if you'd like a place to meet your other CSC people, practice what you've learned, and kind of have some momentum and connection before we get into this call. Got a couple yeses. Martha rocks. Yes, 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 yes. Martha, looks like the people have spoken. More yeses, right? So look, even if you come in and she does her call for an hour, Martha, just unmute yourself really quickly. So generally speaking, the first half hour is like role playing and actual like tactical stuff, and the second half is more like networking and group sharing.
I would say the role plays kind of in the middle. So the first part is talking about any issues that we've had or things that you've talked about that we need clarification on. Then we do role play, and then we do feedback on the role play.
Perfect. So look, if you want to build momentum, right? So it's like you have an option with Cherish after, you have an option that has some networking and some more feedback after. Our meetings on Tuesday are not going to change. Our 11:30 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is fixed for the entire year. And so we have some cool other stuff coming up, but Cherish, put your link in the chat so people can hop on over. With love in my heart, I love you all. I'm trying not to go over. It's the new sessions, the tracks all reset in April. So you guys will see an email that's going to come out for the last week of March about picking new tracks, reviewing your business plan, and everything else. So don't worry, we're not going to leave you in the dark. It's something we'll do together. So I think Cherish is already over, and onward and upward. Just click the link in your calendar, and we'll see you all soon. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.